Let's look at the cost of living in the United States, or do you want to move to Mexico?
Jerry Brown here with Jerry Brown Travels.
Lonnie here.
In this video, I want to do a comparison. We're going to look at the cost of Mexico versus the United States. Which one is cheaper? Well, you don't even need to go on any further in this video because Mexico is the cheapest. I have some numbers for you to show you what the different cost is. Well, Lori and I are traveling right now and we're in Cambodia. We're checking it out. Now, I'm posting 2 videos a week. One of them are Mexico. The other one is, in this particular case, Cambodia. And so every week I'm going to post one on Mexico and one on Cambodia. So by looking at our videos, you may not be interested in living in Cambodia, but you may be curious to find out what costs are here. They're quite a bit cheaper here in Cambodia. As an example, you can live on $700 a month, or maybe that living in, say, Mexico is going to be more like about $1,200 a month. So you come along with us as we're traveling through Southeast Asia. Well, Mexico is cheaper than the United States. And so I want to talk about that in this video here. Now, there is a lot of different variables in comparing the prices. I went online and checked out prices. Well, what I realized is that when they're comparing, let's say the United States and Mexico, they're talking about somebody living in the United States and somebody living in Mexico. So when they're talking about Mexico, they're talking about a local Mexican person, what they spend. I look for a town that would be in the United States, and I pick Florida because Florida is a reasonable state to retire in. It's not the lowest, it's not the highest. It's sort of in the middle of your choices of retiring. And I chose one that's on the beach because that's what you like to retire. Maybe you like to retire on the beach. The town that I chose is Palm Coast, Florida. And Palm Coast, Florida is located between St. Augustine and Daytona Beach. And so looks like a nice area there. Go and check it out, and look at some photographs of that area. See if that would interest you. So the comparison is Palm Coast, Florida and Ajijic, Mexico. So when I'm talking in this video, I'm going to just say Florida, I'm going to say Mexico. So you'll know the two different areas there. So what I want to do is I'm going to be looking at my notes down below. So if you see me glancing down, then that's what I am doing. Well, one of the other factors that is different here, Mexican, when they're living, their standard of living is lower in general than, let's say, in the United States. As an example here, this is a good example, is in Mexico, when you're looking at these charts where people are living, they're not going to burn the electricity like I'm burning behind me here. They're going to have one light bulb on. They're going to keep it to a very minimal. They'll probably even have it on a very, instead of a 100-watt bulb, they may have it on a 50-watt bulb. So they are really conservative. They don't have things like dryers typically, and they may have a wash machine, but they're not using a dryer. So their utilities are going to be cheaper versus if you compare, let's say, Florida. So what I've tried to do here is to make it a close comparison rather than taking a state that, would really be abstract and they just say, wow, Mexico is like, it's free to live there, but compared to, say, San Francisco. Okay, now I'm going to start looking at some numbers here and we're going to go look at it. So as an example, a meal, say at a moderate restaurant in Palm Coast, Florida. Now remember, I'm just going to say Florida. And that is, for one person, is about $13.50. Now in Mexico, it's going to be about $4.75. So a meal for 2 people in a moderate restaurant is in Florida is going to be $50. And in Mexico, it's going to be about $22. So we see the prices are cheaper. Okay, here's one that you could probably look up in your area, a McDonald's. So in Florida, it's $7.75, and in Mexico, it's $4.27. So a domestic beer in Florida is $4, and a domestic beer here in Mexico is $1.42. A cappuccino, as an example, in Florida, it's going to be $4.35. And in Mexico, it's going to be about $1.70 there. It's not going to be a Starbucks. Say a Coca-Cola. That's always a good comparison. So in Florida, it's going to be $1.88, and in Mexico, it's going to be about 68 cents. Let's look at things like milk and stuff that you would buy in your house. So let's say milk. Regular milk in Florida is going to be about 97 cents for 1 liter. And then if we're looking in Mexico, it's going to be about 81 cents per 1 liter. A loaf of white bread. In Florida, it's going to be about $2.70, and in Mexico, about $2.50. Now, eggs, say 12 eggs. I hope you know these prices. I'm not familiar with them because Lori does all the shopping. But eggs, 12 eggs in Florida is going to be $2.55, and here in Mexico, it's going to be about $1.50 for 12 eggs there. So let's look at local cheeses, and in Florida, it's going to be about $12 for 1 kilo of cheese, and here in Mexico, it's going to be about $4.50 for a kilo of cheese. Now let's look at chicken fillets. For 1 kilo, it's going to be about $10 in Florida, and in Mexico, about $3.25. To simplify kilos, figure about 2 pounds per 1 kilo. Okay, so let's look at apples. Apples are going to be for 1 kilo, it's going to be about $3.90. And in Mexico, it's going to be $1.70 in Mexico. So let's look at oranges for a kilo. It's going to be about $3.30 in Florida, and in Mexico, it's going to be about 85 cents for a kilo. And then tomatoes, you're going to be looking at about $3.60 a kilo in Florida, and then in Mexico, you're looking at about 90 cents a kilo. There's quite a bit of difference there. Onions in Florida, you're looking at, again, a kilo of onions, a lot of onions, about $3 a kilo. And then in Mexico, you're going to look like it's about $1 a kilo. It's quite a bit of savings on onions. So you can make yourself a lot of onion sandwiches. Look at basic utilities here. And this is what I mean. In Florida, it's going to cost you about $152 for your utilities. Now remember, Florida, you got air conditioning, and you're living on the beach, so you're going to definitely want to have air conditioning going. So in Mexico, they're saying $25. Hey, we don't get by that cheap on $25. I don't think that's a realistic number for expats comparing prices down here. Let's look at the internet. Well, in Florida, they're looking at a package where we have unlimited data. And so they're asking for about $66 a month for that. And in Mexico, you're looking at about $26 a month. Well, this is a biggie. Rents. The rents are always a challenge. So in Florida, for a moderate home, a 1-bedroom home, you're looking at about $900. And in Mexico, you're looking at about $700. Now, if you're looking for an apartment outside of the center of the towns, you would then, in Florida, you'd be looking at about $600. And then in Mexico, you'd be looking at about $600 too. So that's pretty interesting. Now let's look at an apartment, say a 3-bedroom apartment. In Florida, you're looking at about $1,350, and in Mexico, you're looking at about $850. That definitely would not be in Ajijic. It would be more apt to be in Chapala. So this is somewhat of an idea of comparison between the different Ajijic, and we're using Florida as an example. Now, overall, it's about 60% cheaper living in Mexico. Now, I did some comparisons on Puerto Vallarta, and Puerto Vallarta is more expensive than the Lake Chapala area. It's about 15% higher than in Ajijic. I looked at places like Cancun, and they also are running about 15 to 20% higher than in Ajijic. When you look inside at towns that are not in a tourist area or not in an expat area, then you're really looking at a much cheaper price in those areas. So you can probably save half of what you spend than you would in a resort area or in an area where expats like to live. As an example, Ahi, San Miguel Allende, and these type of towns. So if you want to save even more money, you get away from the tourist areas. Then you'll save a lot more money in that regard. One of the other factors that you have to remember, to live in Mexico, you have to qualify for a resident visa here. And in doing that, they're going to ask that you have a certain amount of money in the bank that will make you qualify to live here. They don't want people coming in and just, trying to live on the beach, in a sleeping bag, or eat coconuts and mangoes off the trees. They're looking for people that are going to add value to Mexico. So what they do is they have requirements. And so as an example, when we came in and we did get a temporary visa, so we are a resident visa here, and we had to show each $1,650 a month income to live in Mexico. So that's a little bit of a hook, a little problem for some people. I have done videos where I talk about living here on $1,000 a month. And it's possible. Realistically, in this time in years and right now, we're looking probably realistically for one person at the low end would be about $1,200 a month. And probably a more comfortable lifestyle is if you had $1,500 to $1,800 a month. For a couple living here in Mexico, you probably can get by for $20,000 a year. Again, that's living on the very low side, but realistically, you're looking at about $26,000 a year to $30,000 a year to live here. So Mexico is a bargain in a lot of ways. Now, one of the other factors that I want to bring up, by living in another country, there's a lot of things that you don't get. As an example, if you're retired and you're collecting Medicare, like Lori and I are, well, you can't use it down in Mexico. So if a person has some real health issues and they need the assistance of Medicare, in other words, they need the doctors, they need the medication, and they're using a lot of that, then it may not be a choice that you want to make to move to Mexico. You may want to then pick a state like Florida that you can live much cheaper. Then you can use your benefits. You can use your Medicare, you can use your drug program, you can get maybe bus passes, you can get social services programs that will help you, that'll subsidize your standard of living. So that's a factor here. Our medication has gone quite a bit up in the last 2 years. Again, we are taking more medication than we did before. So naturally, things get more expensive. Drugs are not as cheap as a lot of people think they are. So Mexico has a higher drug cost a lot of times. Now, if you can get on your Medicare, as an example, we would spend probably somewhere around $200 a month for just our medication. And if we were able to get Medicare down here and use it, we would be more likely to only have to pay for 90 days about $30. So you can see a big savings there. So in 3 months, we're spending $600. And in 3 months there, you'd be spending $90. So that's a factor you want to think about before you come moving down. We're basically healthy too. So Mexico is a great place, and we enjoy living down here, and we enjoy the people down here and everything that's involved in Mexico. We do not have private health insurance. We pay everything from our pocket on what it costs us. So when we go see a doctor, it costs us about $30 now. It used to only cost about $10, so prices have gone up here. We do see a specialist, and they are more money than, let's say, a general practitioner. So that's a factor also. We have to pay for our own dental work down here, and so we do that also. We pay for it ourselves. We have been in hospital here, and we've had to pay for that out of pocket also. So that's factors that are important to know if you're deciding to live in another country. I hope this information has maybe clarified some things that you may be thinking about and some questions you wanted to ask about medical and cost of living down here. You know, it's very easy to subscribe. All you need to do is, you see my face at the bottom right hand corner there? If you touch on it, you will subscribe absolutely free. Now don't forget, turn on your notices, because we're going to send you a notice once a week telling you when we have a video waiting for you to see. A special one just for you. So thank you very much. Jerry Brown here with Jerry Brown Travels.